Republicans in Democratic states are very worried about the elimination of state and local deduction. Speaker Ryan, though, he's remained mum on whether or not the GOP will actually scrap those deductions. California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, and Texas are your top 5 recipients. Of course, 4 of those major blue states. Here to discuss with me now, Jeff DeWitt, Arizona State Treasurer and a member of Donald J. Trump for President Advisory Board, and the former Trump campaign Chief Operating Officer, Beverly Hallberg, District Media Group President and a Hill contributor. Beverly, let me start with you because Peter King of New York making it pretty clear that the Republicans are going to have trouble trying to eliminate state and local deductions in places like New York, and they're going to really jeopardize they're going to jeopardize people like him keeping office. That was not always a red seat that Peter King has.
Well, I'm originally from California, so I understand what it's like to live in a blue state. And I would say as Republicans are looking at this, this is the good news. The good news is they don't have a bill out yet. The good news is they're working on compromises behind the scenes before they actually count the votes. So I would say that you're going to see some movement in this. The chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Kevin Brady, has been negotiating with Republicans for a long time. They already removed the border adjustment tax a few months ago, which was going to create some issues. So I would say while this is a hurdle, it's bound to be expected when you have a 31-year-old tax code that is really a patchwork of loopholes and deductions.
I think, Jeff, another problem, though, is sort of the parameters that the GOP have boxed themselves in. Revenue neutrality is one of them, and some of the other issues, some of the rigidness that I think that they've placed upon themselves, actually making this a much harder goal to achieve, because from the outside looking in, to quote President Trump today, everybody likes a tax cut.
Yes, they do. And Charles, you know, a lot of politicians have fought for decades for the special interests that have their own deductions written into the tax code. And what the president wants to do is gut it and gut all the special interest money. And what that's going to do, obviously, is send a lot of longtime politicians scrambling. And that's what you're seeing. But the bottom line is, this is very Reagan-esque. It's similar to what we saw back in the 80s, 1985. When you're talking about the state and local tax deduction, Ronald Reagan himself said that it's an unfair policy, and it's, if you have one state subsidizing basically the high tax policies of a different state, that is truly, as Ronald Reagan said, taxation without representation. So, you know, I also grew up my younger days in California, back when Ronald Reagan was the governor, and it was a different state. But we have to do what's best for the country right now, and making the tax system more fair. I look at it in 2 parts. There's the tax deduction, and there's also the simplification. And quite frankly, even if my own taxes stay the same next year, but you allowed me to do it on a postcard like they're saying in 30 minutes by myself, that's already a win. Now, if you go further and we get the tax cuts, that will spur economic growth.
All right, Jeff, so you're telling people, hey, you might have thought you were getting a tax cut, but I'm going to save you some time filling it out. Maybe that's a win, maybe it's not.
We want both.
Okay, but Beverly, here's the thing, okay, because we're hearing a fourth bracket being floated out there. You referred to the border adjustment tax. That would have been hell on middle-class folks going shopping and retailers. So, but why have the Republicans boxed themselves into this? Jeff DeWitt just talked about Ronald Reagan. Whatever happened to belief in supply-side economics?
Well, this is where the Republicans really have to push back against a Democrat narrative that is going to want to make this about the rich getting their fair share. I think if the Republicans really focus on what is true about this, which is lowering the corporate tax rate, which is what President Trump has been saying all along, even in his campaign, is really the crux of the American heartbeat in this country. When 80% of businesses are small businesses or hire employees that are around 50 or under, that's what they need to focus on, is talking about the American worker, because, yeah, the Democrats are going to talk about these other areas, but they need to focus on what actually works, and that's lowering the tax rate for everyone, including businesses.
All right, thank you both very much. I'm going to give you my take on what happened under Reagan as well coming up later. Also coming up, President Trump echoes what I've been saying for a long time. We are in the midst. It has already begun. I'm talking the manufacturing renaissance. Next.